This week I'm going to talk about the sun. I'm going to talk about solar flares, prominences, and coronal mass ejections, the differences between them, and if any of them are actually harmful to us Earthlings. So I'm going to start out with our sun that I drew here for everyone. He's wearing a nice pair of sunglasses. I'm going to start telling you guys a little bit about combustion. So the sun mass produces photons and also electrons. These are highly charged particles. The sun is constantly producing like helium, oxygen, hydrogen, and through this hot ball of gas, these elements start to form. And so it affects us in ways of its heat. So that's how we stay warm. It's also how we have light. So anyone who goes out to go get a suntan, that is from photons that have left the sun about 8 minutes prior the moment that it reached us. So I'm going to first talk about solar flares. So a flare is actually a buildup of these electrons, and sometimes when they're constantly being mass produced, they need to eventually be released. And this is usually through a solar flare. It's usually spewed out in all directions into space through what's being released is photons and electrons. It's really cool observing this through a telescope. It usually looks kind of like just a white flash. And that's strictly because it is just energy. It is just being released energy, and that's it. The next thing is a solar prominence. Prominence is more like an arc shape, and this is actually because of the electromagnetic field of the sun. What starts to happen is different material from the sun's corona wants to start to try and get released. And what starts to happen is it's swooped back into the sun because of the electromagnetic field that it has around it. So it actually starts to get trapped back into the sun. But occasionally, a little bit might explode and spew out in one direction. And that's generally through the matter of the sun. And the matter of the sun is plasma, because that now brings me to my last thing, which is coronal mass ejection. Coronal mass ejection is like a bubble of the plasma coming from the corona of the sun, which is the outer layer of the sun, and it just starts to build up to a really, really high temperature where eventually it just spews out. It spews out in one direction specifically, moves at about 1 million miles per hour, and this is all plasma. It's all matter from the sun that's just exploding out. So it's a really dramatic process. If it is directed towards Earth, it'll take us about 3 days for it to reach us. So we won't actually know until 3 days later. Unless obviously we're observing it through a telescope, then we can see it predicted and then eventually feel it. So we should always keep a close eye on any of these, specifically the coronal mass ejections, because they do affect us on Earth. It's not just through the heat, but it's also through airlines, and it does affect electric companies. So it is quite important, but next time we have a huge heat wave, keep a lookout, because it could possibly be just a friendly reminder from the star that we orbit that it's there and that it's constantly spewing out energy and heat and plasma to us. So I also did write a blog about this if you guys want to check it out. It's on astroathens.com. Wrote it a while ago, so I just thought I would kind of draw a diagram for you guys so you could visualize it, as opposed to just reading a bunch of words. So, okay, well, thank you guys, and cheers!